Go for it.
Aloha snack bar, everyone. It's the one, the Oli Senor Silverback, back again on another special broadcast with my main man, CJ, the uncanny producer. And we have with us one half of the dynamic duo, Robert Jones from Solutions
Yes.
Matter. Jack's
Yes.
not in today. He's under the weather, a little sicky
Yes.
poo, you
Yes.
know. But
How are you guys doing today?
I'm doing good, bro. How are you? How's your week coming along?
It's actually going good. Some big things going on. We went up to Fisher, or not Fisher's, Fort Wayne, and spoke at a company's luncheon.
Nice.
And I recently got my insurance license, so that's always great. Um,
Yeah,
just doing it, man.
that's
Recording
it.
these episodes. So
That's it.
yeah, just trying to keep producing. Do good things, stay up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely, bro. I mean, thank God it's Friday. You could be out of. I mean, are you done with
Yes.
class for the day or what?
Well, actually, I'm leaving today around 11:45 because I have
Nice.
a doctor's appointment. But
Sure.
you know, we being a senior, you get to pick a pretty nice schedule. So we have a pretty lenient schedule, and innovations quite often, which allows me to record this podcast and everything. So yeah.
Absolutely, man. Hey, CJ. CJ. There's
CJ.
CJ. CJ
I'm here.
hit the
I'm
mute
here.
button
I'm
and he
here.
walked away. Are you getting ramen noodles again, CJ?
I'm I was looking at the stream, making sure, and I always forget to look over to see if I'm unmuted.
That's funny, man. So we got some topics we want to discuss, man. And
Yeah.
one of the things, CJ, what's one of the things on the radar here, buddy?
Well, one of the things that keeps coming up just kind of over and over is this whole discussion around, white privilege, and is it real? Is it fact fiction, or is it more just race baiting? What is it? I'm trying to find that middle road of understanding of that whole concept. So I thought we could discuss that a little bit today.
Yeah. I'll go on and jump right into it with my opinions of this whole idea of white privilege. And I'll even get into a little bit of white guilt because I think that they somehow can intertwine. Basically, white privilege is like the idea um, that white people have it better than other races. Usually, they're talking about black people. I don't really think in today's world that white privilege is as prevalent as it used to be. There used to be a thing called white privilege, and um, it was very, very real back in the 1800s. With the whole slavery stuff. But like I always say, that was hundreds of years ago. Um, Today, I think white privilege is dead in a way because the other races of people have a way better opportunity to do things and succeed. So
Yep.
yeah.
Absolutely, man. And when you look at it, it's yeah, it really is a myth. I mean,
Yeah.
I get it. From slavery onwards to civil rights. I get it. Yeah, definitely there was some white privilege, this, that, and the other. That's very, very straightforward. But when you're looking at, come on, man, it's 2017.
Yep.
All right, and unfortunately for the libtards don't like numbers. Libtards don't like
Facts,
facts.
statistics,
Exactly,
logic.
because it's all about like this mindless stuff. I mean, if you've seen the perfect example of this for all you Bernie Sanders fans is when Bernie got his rear end ripped by Ted Cruz. I mean, it
Yeah.
was a bloodletting. Ted was destroying this guy with facts and figures, and the only thing Sanders could do is, but you have to understand that the 1% takes
The
from the
1%.
35%, and the 99% divided by the 3% gives you the 28% of the 1% who's taking all the money. That's
Yeah.
exactly what's happening. But don't you feel that healthcare is a
Look.
right?
Look, the rich people, they're evil. The small businesses, they need to get over it. I
Yeah.
mean, Bernie, I saw clips from the debate that those two guys had. Ted was bringing up valid, logical
Yeah.
stats and statistics when our boy Bernie, well, he's not my boy, but he seems to be a lot of people's boy. He's up there, emotion, trying to appeal to people's emotions, make them feel sad and feel pity for people who don't have health care and everything. We can't pay for everybody.
Right.
I mean, it's just fact. We can't support 300 million people
1,000%
under our government.
1,000.
It's crazy.
Yeah, man, that's the whole thing. It's like liberal, if you care about individual liberties, if you care about freedom, the greatest thing for a young person, for any American to have, is the ability for the freaking government to leave you the hell alone.
Yep.
How would you like to, look, one of these days, a lot of these young people that are listening to this broadcast, one of these days, you're going to grow up, you're going to get a life, and you're going to start paying taxes. And then reality is going to start setting in that, you know what, it's going to be really good for you that if the friggin' government doesn't interfere in your life and everything that you do, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
So instead of these mindless axioms of this imaginary racism, this imaginary white privilege, and I'm not a white guy, okay? When I'm telling you that, when you look at the statistics, okay, the average white male who's college educated, talking about his privilege, is making about $64,500 a year.
Yep.
The average Indian, Southeast Asian, is making $101,000 per year, followed by Taiwanese, Japanese, and the Chinese. Okay, what are you talking about? White privilege. They have a lower amount of crime in those Asian communities, whereas a white person has a very high probability of violent crime happening against them. The suicide rates are through the roof. They're getting blamed for all sorts of society. I mean, goddamn it! It's a freaking tree falls in the woods. That's a white guy. He must have chopped it down.
Yeah.
You know, white privilege. I mean, it's ridiculous, man. This brainwashing.
Yeah,
I think they get confused a little bit. I think here's what I see. Obviously they talk about the whole thing with the police, and when you get pulled over and what happens, all that. I've been pulled over, and I'm not white, and I don't think that I get any. I obviously listen to what the instructions are, and and I'm do what I'm told, but I don't feel that I've ever been treated differently. Now, however, one of the areas that I do see that people are confusing white privilege versus maybe the wealth disparity is in the court systems. And when you think about the banks, for example, how they commit all these crimes, and most of them are white guys, in these financial institutions, and they're like robbing people and they're committing all these crimes, and what happens? None of them go to jail. Nothing really ever happens. All they get a huge fine. And that's about it, So I think of that instance, and then also, do you remember that one kid that he had a DUI and he killed like 6 people or 4 or 5 people, and what did he claim? That rare, he said that influential
affluenza.
Affluenza. He claimed affluenza and he got off. So I think from that instance, and you see a white person's getting away with it, I think that, you could say, but it's not necessarily a white privilege thing. It's more that the courts and who's being paid and who's being bought off. I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
I mean, I think, money does have something to do with it, usually pay to play. And if you can, afford to pay off your judges, your cops, all those people, then you're probably going to be punished less for any bad thing that you do. But if you don't have the money to do that, then you're kind of stuck. So I could see where there's like this whole idea of like white privilege as far as being able to advance yourself with your resources and your money. And I mean, I think honestly, if you look at the statistics, like you mentioned, how like the average white male gets paid 60-something thousand. I've heard stories about Africans that have came over, and these guys are some of the wealthiest people in the country.
Absolutely.
And
I forgot to mention that. I think it was Nigerians.
Yeah, Nigerians
make more money. An average Nigerian who's college educated, got a professional degree, is making more money than the average white guy.
Yeah, he is. And I find it funny when, like, the African Americans that are here in the United States get mad because the government is more willing to give resources to the Nigerian who's coming over. It's kind of because the Nigerian is a little bit more motivated.
Yep.
And, kind of knows what he wants to do with the money and with his life. Not saying that all blacks that live in this country aren't, but just I think they have a better grasp of what they'd like to do in the future. So
Absolutely, man. You know, the whole thing also, when I look at the whole entire thing from an economic perspective, and economics runs everything. It runs politics, it runs nation states, it runs religion.
yep.
If people want to know what organized religion is, organized religion is simply economics applied to politics.
Yeah.
That's what organized religion is. It's economics applied to politics. So I don't see white privilege. I see class privilege. And I could break it down to class privilege. I could break it down to IQ privilege. And when you look at it this way, when you look at if you're a certain economic strata, okay, you're in a certain economic strata, you are going to have more leverage and more options simply because money talks and you know what walks.
Yeah.
That's number one.
Yeah.
Number two, the other thing is that I'm looking at, man, is you know, you have the money aspect and then the IQ aspect, right? And this is the most fascinating thing. When you look at most places in the world, right? When you look at like poor neighborhoods, and it doesn't matter if it's a black neighborhood or if it doesn't matter if it's like a white trailer park, whatever the hell it is. Okay, it could be in the ghetto in New York City, or it could be in like a trailer park in Alabama. There's two things in common with the white trailer park trash in West Bumble Hoo Ha, Alabama, okay, and the cracked out black neighborhood in the ghetto in like the South Bronx. There's two things in common. Both groups of people miraculously have like an 80 IQ. And when you're in an 80 IQ, what occurs is that, you know, you do the same things. You're not planning for the future.
Yep.
You're not, you know, thinking about the ramifications of your actions. You buy things on impulse. You don't save. You have no what's the word? You have no sanctity for life itself in some cases, okay? And this is what you see prevalent. They behave the same. Dude, I've traveled the country enough to know that when I've seen poor podunk white folk and podunk black folk, it's the same thing. I look at these young kids, right?
Yep.
It's like they'll sleep with anything, they'll eat anything, they'll do anything, they'll screw anything. They're just like become basal animals.
Yeah.
And that's an IQ thing. That's a dive. That's an education type situation.
It is. You know? It is, because if you teach, like, okay, I'll use the black community, and we'll tie this back to white privilege. If there's white privilege, then why is it that some black people are billionaires, some are millionaires, and like my family, some even live in a nice neighborhood and just have a pretty nice middle-class lifestyle, and you have, you know, your poor ones that live in the ghetto. It's all about the education. If my family, if I'm taught to be a certain way and taught how to do things a certain way, then of course I'm going to be successful. These people are not taught, you know, the right things to do and how to properly be successful. Like yesterday I went on a field trip to a college down in Indianapolis, and we were with another school. I'm not going to say the school, but they're predominantly black school, and our school is of course a white school, and we behaved, you know, amazingly because we have a structured background. We have structured teachers who care, and then most of the kids come from a structured two-parent family. And I know I'm making a generalization, but I'm probably going to assume that most of the kids that were at the other school did not have that situation, and their teachers, the teacher that was with them, didn't really care too much about what they were doing because they're hard to control. Yeah. So I think one of the biggest foundations in improving people's economic stability is whether they're raised by one or two parents, and whether the teachers in their schools actually care about the students. Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely, man. I think also it goes into, I don't know if you've heard about this, CJ and Rob. You guys heard about the R and K selection theory?
I have not.
All right, I'm always brought back to the RK selection theory. I think Stefan Molyneux, if you YouTube Stefan,
he's a great guy.
Love Stefan. I'm gonna have him on the show one day. But Stefan, he spells it out beautifully. There's tons of research behind it. An RK selection theory, it's a psychology. It eventually evolved into a psychological theory. We went from the studying of evolutionary development in animals to evolutionary psychology in human beings. Okay, you have two sets of people, two sets of mindsets, and you'll appreciate this, and you'll get this off the bat. Okay, you have the R selection and you have K selection. Your R selection are the more recessive group. Okay, this is the group that like if you were to, the best example would be like a rabbit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they reproduce like the whole saying, reproducing like a bunny rabbit, right? They reproduce like crazy. They have dozens of offspring. They tend to exist in areas of abundance of food. Okay, so if a hawk comes in and snatches one of their young, oh well, it's just happened. It's a predator just took one of my kids. It's all right. I got other kids. It's okay, and there's plenty of food. There's no planning for the future, okay, in terms of putting away food for the future. They're not in that harsh environment, anything like that. And you'll see that human civilization in population groups that are in a similar, it's the same thing. You go into the ghettos. What do you got in common, man? You got the EBT cards. Everybody's on welfare, so everything's being taken care of. You have an abundance of food. Okay, you don't know poverty. The average poor in America has a television set, maybe even a car. You don't know poverty until you've been to like the third world. I've been to the third world. I've seen how people live in the favelas with open sewers, with with no running water or electricity. Okay, it's a different ball game. Okay, you might not make it till you're 12. You might not make it to see your 13th birthday in areas like that. So in the U.S., we have this R selective people. They're very beta in their thinking. They don't plan ahead. They're not, what's the word I'm looking for? They're not, resourceful. Okay. And there's a tendency within the R selective mindset, and this is what liberals are made of. Okay. Oppositions to any sort of free market capitalism. They have a tendency for pacification, and they always make demands that all citizens everywhere, they have to disarm. So to avoid any conflict or competition, okay, and the whole thing is, hey, everybody gets a trophy, all right, and that's what you're seeing with the R selective. There's more, there's a overemphasis of sexual education. Children that are grown up in R selective areas, they tend to develop faster sexually. Why? Because you got to reproduce. Because there's no there's an abundance of food. There's an abundance of this. There's an abundance of that. And it's a known fact that simpler organisms develop quicker, while those that are much more complex develop slower. It's just the way things are. Then you have the case selective. This would be like your predators, your wolves, the conservatives of the world. That's what we are, right? This psychology, man, we embrace competition.
Yep.
And if you look at population centers that are completely case selective, they come from areas where you don't have the most abundant resources. You'd have to put away your crops for the winter. Otherwise, you're dead. You don't have 1 million kids because you could only have 1 kid, maybe 2. Okay? Because having a third kid is financial ruin because there's not enough food to feed the third kid. They're like the predators. They're like the wolves. Okay? And they don't shy away from competition. They don't shy away from any sort of disparities. Right? They understand that there's going to be disparities in competitive outcomes. It's part of the world that there's going to be winners and there's going to be losers. That's life. Right? So they're hardened. And they get, that's what we see in society, man. It has been a genetic battle. And it doesn't matter what the race is. You see these conditions throughout entire human communities all throughout the world. It's been a battle between the case selective liberal mentality of abundance with finite resources, in other words, avoiding reality. Thinking that there's abundance of resources in a finite world versus case selective, which understand that there's finite resources, it's a finite world, and I need a plan and be responsible in the actions I make. And competition is a good thing. It's survival of the fittest. It is It is, there's going to be disparities in outcomes. There's going to be disparities, and not everybody's a winner.
Yeah. So what do you think? Who do you think survives in the long run when we have a government who gives all these resources to the lesser of the two when it comes to, like they gives it to all the rabbits that are constantly reproducing, not bettering themselves, not independent, can't find their own source of food.
Yep.
Who do you think survives?
We do, because the case selective people like us, Rob, we survive. Because when you look at history, every single model where governments dole out everything, they all collapse.
Yeah.
They all end in ruin. Look, every young person listening to this broadcast, figure out what central banking is. Figure out what fiat currency is. Figure out what socialism is. Oh my God, socialism is so cool. It's so trendy.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
It does not work.
It doesn't work. It never has worked. Well, it works in a... I remember there's some idiot saying, oh yeah, socialism is doing great. It's worked well in Europe. Are you on drugs? They're on the verge of collapse in Europe.
Yeah,
Venezuela, they're eating...
people. Yep.
Yeah, man. Venezuela, they're eating their pets, bro.
Yep.
Explain to me, how does a country like Venezuela that is rich in resources, but the people are eating their pets? They have no food and they got no toilet paper. How does that happen? Socialism.
Yep. It makes no sense.
Right, man. It's like what Margaret Thatcher said, bro. She said, socialism works until you run out of other people's money.
Yeah.
I think you said it very well. I think that's the thing that people don't understand is just in other countries how hard it is, right? People living off dirt floors, people not having running water. And I've experienced that firsthand myself, that when you go to use a phone, guess what? There isn't a phone that you can use.
1,000.
And we here in America, even our most impoverished people still live a lot better than other people in other countries. So I think in terms of the race thing, it's just way too often to me that the only time that you really hear about it is one of two things. Number one is that they have lost all objective of facts, that they have nothing else to really stand on as other than falling back to race. And then the only other aspect is when it's convenient. There's not enough people nominated for Grammys this year. Oh, it's this, that's the equivalent of me going to the NFL and to the NBA and say, I don't think you have enough 5'11" short guys playing in there. You guys need to come on, you guys need to open it up, right?
Yeah. So what do you guys and I gotta duck out in about 15. What do you guys think about this whole immigration thing that's been going on? Because I saw a lady in the news and she's an illegal citizen, which I shouldn't say citizen because she's not a citizen, but she's been here for 20 years and she finally got deported, and everyone was protesting and stopping the cars and everything from deporting her. And it's like, she was illegal. She was a convicted felon. Just what do you guys think about that?
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Oh, wait, Don's whispering something to you.
Yeah, he is. He is.
I heard you, Don. I heard you. Absolutely.
So he's talking about how Obama, the whole deported more people than any other president in American history.
Right.
Which is, let me just adjust the gain a little. It's all the way true. And yet nobody says anything about it.
Right.
So
that's because because Obama's he's like their messiah.
Yeah, he's the black savior. Yep.
He is. I remember how many people were like rewriting Christian hymnals, deleting the word Jesus and putting Obama in it. It was disgusting. I was like, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Well,
here's the thing. It's on a travel ban. Let's just call it. I think CJ, this weekend we're releasing the interview we did with Diamond and Silk. That's going to be awesome.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
The two ladies who are Trump supporters, and they said it best. They said it's not a travel ban; it's a travel pause. Can we just call it for what it is? The travel pause. When Obama did this in 2011, nobody said nothing. When
Nope.
George W. Bush did it in 2002, nobody said nothing. When Reagan did it in the 80s and Carter did it in the 80s, nobody said nothing. All of a sudden, Trump does it because there's 7 countries that are the hotbed of lunacy. And if you
Yeah.
millennials don't understand what the hell it is I'm talking about, go on YouTube, type in Europe, type in migrant, and type in crisis, and then watch the videos. Watch the videos of girls getting groped, raped. They have what's called the rape game. You want to talk about a rape culture? There's your rape culture over there. They have a rape game, okay? Watch the tens of thousands flooding across. And all our president's saying is, hey, maybe we need to,
Not let these
stop the
people come
immigration.
over.
Yeah, until we can get a better vetting process in place. He
Yeah.
didn't say indefinitely. He said for 90 days, 120 days. What is that in the grand scheme of things? And you got these activist judges. This is a violation of the Constitution. Excuse me, the Constitution doesn't apply to refugees. It applies to American citizens.
Yes, yep.
And here's a real other inconvenient truth, okay? Under Obama from 2009 to 2015, his administration deported more than 2.5 million people. He deported more people than any other administration, but you don't hear that. Why? Because he's not white.
Yeah. It's with Obama, it's all about race. Him being black, you can't, I don't know if you guys noticed, but you kind of can't say anything about black people because you'll be perceived as a racist.
Right. Exactly.
I don't know. I mean, and we could kind of get into his presidency. I think he had good intentions coming in, but like all good things, they can get veered away from what the original purpose was.
Absolutely.
I just don't understand Obama and his whole, I'm going to call it reign of terror, because I'm losing my train of thought.
That's okay. So yeah, the reign of terror and everything that he achieved or didn't achieve. Of the other,
it would be didn't achieve.
Right.
He did all these things, and he said they were so great and so good. And when you look at actually the consequences of his actions, they're not good.
No.
Look at what's occurred in the Middle East. Let's even look at what's happened in the United States since he became president. We didn't have any what they call racial crimes or whatever going on when Bush was in office, against black people, not so much problems with Mexicans and all that kind of stuff. But for some reason, when America thought that everything was good because we elected a black president, everything got bad in a way. All these new problems started sprouting with cops shooting people and all that kind of stuff. You just would think that if we have a black president, everything's supposed to be good and jolly, but it doesn't make sense.
I was gonna say I specifically remember because I told you that I went back and watched that night in Chicago that he won the election.
Yeah.
Over John McCain. I've went back and I think I've watched that at least a couple of times. More importantly, because unlike what we're saying today, with a lot of people just throwing fit regarding the elections, I was very outspoken of Obama in the primaries because I had researched and learned a lot of his background. But in saying that, I remember specifically the day after he was elected, I actually started a Facebook group called Cautiously Optimistic, that I was going to give him an opportunity. I was going to give him a chance because I did feel that some of the things he stated that night, that this was the first time in history that we had felt that we have moved past the racial divide in America. A lot of people were saying racism is over, racism is dead. For the first time in life, and even Michelle Obama came out and said for the first time in her adult life, she was proud of America. And then fast forward that to 8 years, and what happened? What happened to that pride from that one night?
I'll tell you what happened. Remember this, guys? This is where it began. If I had a son, he'd look like Trayvon. That's where it happened. If I had a son, he'd look like Trayvon.
Yeah.
I mean, when does a president get involved in a local BS incident?
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, what? I mean, yeah, Trayvon Martin's dead, but is that worth national attention? No, there was clearly an agenda.
I don't think so.
There are kids getting shot left and right in like New York. Nobody, all of a sudden Trayvon is on the news. Come on, man.
For a second, let's talk about the fact that there are way more And I know what all the left say and the black people say. Well, that's what all conservatives say, is that there's more black on black crimes than there are police killing black people. It's true. There are more blacks in Chicago killing each other than there are killing little kids who are innocent than there are blacks or cops killing black people everywhere. Right. So it makes no sense to me.
Right. It's all white guys got shot. Guys,
and, I agree with that point, but unfortunately, there's so many times that they manipulate the data to reflect their own outcome that they want, and so that's why it's always, someone will throw one statistic out there, but there's another one arguing. But when you take a look at the details, and in today's, what is Twitter 100? How many characters or less in today's environment of, people anymore nowadays, they don't read the body of a article. All they read is just the headline.
Yeah.
In today's electrifying, just so many people emotionally charged regarding just the headlines, the facts get missed sometimes. And
totally.
And unfortunately, that's how they win sometimes.
Yeah. And we interviewed I interviewed a guy named Tommy Sotomayor. He's known for using somewhat outrageous headers on his videos, and there are so many like pro-blacks and just black people in general who read the topic. Like he'll say mixed women are the most beautiful women on the planet, and then he'll do a video about how much he loves. The video will be about how much he loves black women, and people in the comment section will go, "This guy said that mixed women are better than black women." Well, if you look at the video and actually listen and read the content that's actually there, you may learn that they're actually saying something completely different. I can't stand the fact that people don't do that. It's crazy.
Right.
Roger that.
Because everybody lives in sound bites, man. Everybody lives in sound bites.
Yep.
That's the biggest problem. But I mean, let's look at Obama real quick, man. The guy's been at war every day in his last 8 years. First president to ever do that in U.S. history. Every day of his administration, he was at war. He was drone striking somebody.
Yeah.
And then he wins a Nobel Peace Prize. He's dumped 36,000 bombs on 7 countries in 8 years, and he gets the Nobel Peace Prize. Explain that to me. He did 306 rounds of golf. He's done over $100 million on vacations on the taxpayer's dime, unlike any other president in U.S. history. And on top of that, the guy's increased the deficit to over $8 trillion, which is more than the other 43 presidents in U.S. history combined.
Yeah.
Please explain that to me.
It's black privilege.
That's not that sounds racist.
I know it does, but it's black privilege. Obama, because he's black, and many other black people get to say whatever they want, do whatever they want, be however they want, because they're simply black.
Yep.
He gets to be the worst president in American history, but because he's black and he was the first black president, he's going to be looked at in history as a good guy, as one of the best presidents ever. When his actions clearly do not show that.
No.
Yeah, because they don't want the facts. They want to avoid all that. And here's my belief. Okay, is that in terms of racism, is it? I don't think it does. Does it exist? I'm not going to be naive and say that it doesn't. Okay, but I'm also going to tell you it's just one of those things that's never going to go away.
Yeah, it's
always going to be there.
There's always going to be somebody.
So yeah, there's always going to be somebody. So that's my first point. My second point is that there's certain aspects of cultural things that, if we wanted to, we could refer it to as racism, but we don't, because we accept it as a cultural thing. Perfect example was arranged marriage. There are several races out there that believe that they should stay married within their own race.
Yep.
And there are several that deal with arranged weddings where they don't ever meet the bride; they just arrange it. So should a white person or myself look at it to say, well, that's racist? That's racist. No, it's part of their culture, and not saying that we should respect that racism is a part of people's culture, but it's just one of the things that's never going to go away. And in fact, I would say that it exists not only with white people, but with black people, with Hispanics, with
it does. It definitely does, because especially I know in the black community, and this is just another double standard. Black women want black men to marry and have kids with other black women. But yet they go out and, date white men we're not allowed to say anything. But that's beside the point. But there are a whole bunch of like little things in the Black community. I know I have older grandparents and they're old fashioned. They're like, you should date only Black people and only have Black kids, that kind of stuff. But the world is changing and people do different things and people meet new people and they go away from where they're originally from. But I think it's kind of good that we do have certain traditions and values, and they should remain the same.
Yep.
Absolutely.
In the future. I mean, just the fact, and even this, men marrying women, I think that is something that should always be. Because if it's not, then people die. Then the human population does not sustain and grow. It's just one thing that has to be there.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely, man. And we can get into that next time. Yeah. Rob,
yeah, we'll table that.
A minute left, dude. I know you got to run. Plug your site, plug your channel, and get on with it, buddy.
You can find me at Real Robert Jones on Twitter because, well, I think I'm going to be a celebrity. So you can find Solutions
cool.
Matter.
You will.
At _SM_podcast. Our YouTube, just YouTube Solutions Matter. SoundCloud Solutions Matter podcast. iTunes Solutions Matter. We'll link everything down so that you can find it. So yeah.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
And you can follow us on roguemoney.net at the Rogue Money on Twitter. Take it away, CJ.